This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Well, joining us today is Ben Turney, the CEO of Kavango Resources. Thank you very much for your time, Ben. How have you been? How's the summer been?
Oh, well, I'm great. The summer's been fantastic. I mean, it's winter down here. I'm in Harare at the moment, meeting with investors. We're really excited about our forthcoming listing on the VFX, and our progress in the field is absolutely brilliant. I mean, we've been going now for just over a year in Zim. And today we've really, I think, breached a major threshold for the company as we move towards quite significant mining in 2025.
Okay, well, of course, there's been a fair bit of news flow coming out throughout the summer, and just recently, of course, you've had your interims out there with a big update covering all the projects. So we are going to, I think, go through that in a bit more detail as a broader sweep in the next week or so. But if we just to sort of take a look at the moment at Hillside, and of course the recent RNS coming out about some further drilling results. But I mean, a couple of things really have sort of stood out here, and just sort of trying to piece together the puzzle a little bit, perhaps where the focus of the company is, because talking on Hillside, there's of course talk of the first open pit potential here, and also it was mentioned in an RNS a couple of weeks ago, I think, the potential for commissioning 100-ton a day gold processing plant. So I wonder if you could perhaps just piece together where we are at the minute, or where Kavango are at the minute with Hillside.
Yeah, we have left a bit of a breadcrumb trail over recent months. We are putting together a new presentation, which we'll be releasing, which will describe the strategy in more detail. It'd be great if you and I could do a presentation on that, maybe even do a shareholder webinar. But things are moving so quickly with Kavango that I'll be honest, our comms has fallen a little bit by the wayside. So we've been introduced to a manufacturing company about 4 months ago, based in Johannesburg, South Africa, who are specialists at designing and building gold processing plants. They've done work throughout Africa, and in particular done a few successful plants in Zimbabwe. So what we've been looking at is a commercial proof of concept, something that we can bring into production very quickly, rather than try to drill out a several hundred or even several million ounce resource. The way that most exploration companies will typically work is they'll spend years pursuing resource drilling and trying to put as many ounces on the what they think is the balance sheet. But in reality, this is just an enormous money pit. The opportunity in Zimbabwe, as we've said throughout, is to be able to move much, much faster than that and move into quite substantial production, while in parallel to that you also build up significant resources. So the strategy that we're pursuing is to commission a 100-ton a day processing plant at Hillside that we can bring into production during or towards the end of H1 in 2025. Now, the maths on this are really quite simple. If we have a 100-ton a day plant running at 25 days a month, which I think is fairly conservative, running at 2 grams a ton per day, that's 200 grams that we are producing every day, which works out over a 25-day period at around about 5 kgs a month. Now, this is, we think, at the lower end of what's possible for us to achieve. But to put that into context, Mark, that would take us, including the small-scale mining or adding the small-scale mining, which we expect by that stage will be up at around the 3 kg a month level. At current gold prices, that means we'd be generating over 640,000 a month in revenue, which for a business of Kavango size is a dream situation for us to be in. That would make us genuinely profitable at the PLC level, would mean we wouldn't have to come back to market. We'd be completely self-financing, unless, of course, there are projects that we wanted to bring in that were much bigger, or to accelerate any drill programs as we're exploring across our ground. So it's a model that I don't think the market really understands or grasps. And I'll be honest, we're a little bit tired trying to explain it to people. So we've just decided, with the backing of the consagras that we have, Pure Bond support has been phenomenal throughout all of this, we're actually just going to go ahead and do this. And so I think by this time next year, our business is going to be in really strong financial shape. And the results today really couldn't be better for that. This open pit that we think we've identified at Prospect 3, we drilled the first hole, which we put the results out back in May. Market completely ignored those. We did announce that we had 40 meters running at over 0.5 gram a ton, which in the open pit model is worldwide is actually pretty good. In Zimbabwe, we think you can actually do a lot better than that. So we stepped out 200 meters from the hole. We took a bit of a risk with the second hole that we drilled, but that ran into some really good looking grades, and more importantly, quite wide, a lot of width within the different intersections that we hit. So we look like we've got an open strike length over at least 200 meters in both directions. We then drilled an infill hole in between, which again didn't hit quite as good grades as the first two holes, but still pretty good nevertheless. So we're looking at something, Mark, that really could not only be quite substantial and meaningful for a company like Kavango, is eminently achievable. We can bring something like this into production for relatively modest capital requirement and fill the 100-ton a day plant that we're going to build. And at that point, our business is absolutely flying. So yeah, it really is, I think, a major threshold for us today.
Well, it certainly sounds like that's going to be the sort of the main focus, the sort of the I'm not going to say easy win. Nothing's easy in this game, but the easier win to get to significant cash flow there. Bearing in mind the other projects as well. So you say 3 to 5 kilograms per month, so that and $640,000 in revenue.
US. Yep, exactly.
US
So
dollars, yeah.
around about eight by this time next year, around about 8 kgs a month, 8 kilos a month.
Right. Okay. And of course, the gold price doing exceptionally well again today, hitting all-time highs at
Yep.
25.82 as we speak right now. And what do you think about what? I mean, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts around that? If it's going to continue, will it pull back for a little correction?
Excitement around the price at the moment is great, but obviously we have to take a longer term view. So any model that we put together will be based on a substantially lower gold price, because we have to plan for the long term and also plan for sort of whatever dips there might be in the market, make sure that we run as an efficient operation as possible. But this is one of the great advantages of going with a 100-ton a day plant. This is not a big plant to begin with, but it's also scalable. So I think we'll find, based on what we've already identified at Prospect 3, but there is also Prospects 1 and 4 also. We've had fantastic results. I mean, if we were able to get into some form of bulk mining on that underground zone at Prospect 4, which is running at 29.5 grams a ton, then this plant could be chucking off cash flow for us, because obviously the greater the grade, the more profit we make, because most of the input costs are basically the same. So I think in terms of our model, the long-term gold price, it's not so relevant, because if we look at the actual scale of this thing and the scale of the opportunities we have in front of us, we're confident we'll be able to fill it. And we're designing the plant as well so that it can be trebled up to 300 tons a day for a minimal additional capital investment. So it's a scalable model too, which really could be the cornerstone of Kavango's financing as we move forward. And I can't think of many companies in the market who are moving as quickly as we are, with a project as near to serious cash flow generation as we have. And we're not going to be one of these pie in the sky, we need tens of millions of dollars to bring our 600,000 ounce resource into production. One of these kind of plays that you typically see, because they always fall over when it comes down to raising the money. We're going to build up brick by brick, one step at a time. As we move towards what I hope in a few years' time will be very substantial cash flow generation.
Okay, and I mean, of course, we're talking about drill results a little bit. You've mentioned some of the past results, and of course, the recent RNS again showing some pretty good drill intersections there. I mean, really pretty good actually. But I mean, you mentioned earlier about perhaps the market not really sort of getting it at the moment, and I just wonder what you perhaps need to do to sort of to demonstrate to the market, or what you indeed need to do to actually get there to either get market recognition or basically just crack on, as you say, regardless.
Build the plant, start processing the gold, report the numbers, and I think that's what it's going to come down to. We're in a market now where liquidity has been dreadful now for over 2 years. Hardly anything is catching a bid, and those things that are typically a spike and, suck what little liquidity there is in the market out of it. So I think right now, sort of the old speculative game is dead for the foreseeable future. So for now, what we've got to focus on is building a fundamentally very strong business. You've touched on another point there, Mark, which I think, the market really hasn't understood. And there's a bit of confusion. The amount of news flow we put out, Prospect 1, Prospect 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 now, it's a lot to digest. And the simple message is this Hillside project has got an enormous amount of gold and gold potential across the entire 440 hectares. So it's a pretty small project in the grand scheme of things. I mean, it's about 2 kilometres wide from west to east, and sort of, I think, from the northern boundary to the southern boundary is about 1.5 k's. So it's not a very big area of ground, but within that, we have this what we believe is a conjugate set along of these faults that we're working with, which are very prospective for gold. We're seeing different styles of mineralization. We're seeing different associations of gold mineralization with different elements. I mean, there really is an enormous amount to piece together. But I think moving forward, in terms of our messaging, we're going to carry on with the exploration. We're moving into, if you look at the bottom of the RNS today, we've got some great looking targets that we've identified with IP at Prospects 1 and Prospect 5. Prospect 5 is a completely new target that hasn't been identified before. So we're looking forward to putting some scoping holes into those to see what's there. Then once we come back to either to Prospect 4 to prove up some potential there, or to Prospect 3 to get into resource drilling, I think the story at that point will become much simpler to follow in some ways, because it will be focused much more on commissioning the plant, designing the plant, building it, transporting it and installing it, and then actually moving into mining. And where our first target, based on 100 tonnes a day, is we've got to mine 36,000 tonnes of ore to feed the plant for a full year. So, once we've got to that point, then Kavango is going to be in a completely different league with an enormous amount of exploration upside still to go, because the approach that we've taken with the mining, we've not tried to move into an enormous project at the very start. We built the team up slowly over the last 6 months. And if I look at the interim figures, what I love about today's interims, I should probably put something out on Twitter about this, is they show that the plan is working. We made a $41,000 profit in the first half of this year on our mining activities. Now, in the grand scheme of things, again, that's still a bit of a drop in the ocean. But the fact that we're profitable operationally, within the first 3 months is a great achievement for our team. And those numbers have improved a lot since then. So we can already see what this can start to do for our bottom line. And then if we look at our balance sheet, I think we've ended up with about $4.2 million worth of net current assets. Now, a lot of that value is from our investing activity. So the business is really looking in very, very strong shape financially. And what we're proving with our team is that we're able to deliver this project quickly and efficiently with the results on the way. So I'm really, really looking forward to what our full year end will look like. But the interims, I think, are well worth investors taking a good look through, just to see really how Kavango sets apart, or we've set ourselves apart from our competition.
So you're not concerned about cash. You've got enough access to capital, and the balance sheet is healthy enough for you to effectively crack on with all the plans to get this plant built. You're looking to do a resource, or is it a simple matter of, as you say, just building the plant, mining, and reporting the numbers?
No, we'll definitely have a need for further capital at some point, because resource drilling is quite expensive because of just the number of meters that you have to drill. The plant, our full budget for the plant, excuse me, is around about $800,000. So again, we've certainly got enough sort of near term. We're moving forward, but to fulfil the entire plan, Mark, look, I can't say that there won't be another raise at some point, because the chances are there will be. We've just recently taken £2 million from Pure Bond, which we're looking to convert. And again, I think if you go and take a look at the financing strategy RNS that we put out a couple of weeks ago, I think what that will help investors put into context is what our plan is moving forward, what we've actually delivered so far, and what specifically we're going to be doing over the next 6 months. So it's just a fantastic time to be involved in Kavango. Everything is all coming together.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you very much, Ben. It certainly sounds like you know what you're doing. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that indeed does develop, building a plant, very big, important milestone. And I look forward to doing a more of a broader sweep of the company and, of course, the other projects, because it's not just Hillside in Kavango, in the next week or two.
That'd be excellent. Really looking forward to that.
Thank you, Ben.
Thanks for having me.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like, or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stopboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.